I got that scuba gear.
Oh, wow. You guys are making me look bad again. An error
Hey,
occurred. Wait a moment, then try again.
It,
what?
it's live
That's weird. Let me
now.
try again.
It's live.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, yeah, it's
Oh,
live.
okay.
One of these shows you're gonna
All
get it
right,
together.
cool.
Hey,
Technology has never been something I'm interested in.
we got to get you a cool introduction out here. You got to come with
I
some
know.
flavor out here.
I
Man,
know. I
But
know. All I got right now is just Vicky.
yeah, you got to come. When we start, we just talking regular. You got to come on. Yo, this is Vicky.
uh, you see what he did
Maybe you
last
guys can help me with that. Maybe you guys can help me
Yeah,
with that.
we gotta swag you up, yeah.
I know, for real. Word. All right. So so with my boring ass introduction, here I am. Welcome welcome everybody to Rush Hour. This is Vicky Tran, and today we are going to be having a special guest appear. We are going to be talking about a topic that I think is actually very important and something that took us a long time to even be able to experience, and it's something that no one has really taught us. So we're going to talk about the 5 ways we can accidentally drive a wedge between us and our loved ones. So I'm here, my background is I started out as a lawyer from New York, and now I am a psychic and an intuition coach, helping people to live their best lives. We got here Lee and Ike. You guys want to introduce yourselves?
Go ahead, I'll let you go first.
oh, look at that! What a gentleman. I I Naduka, background in behavioral mental health. I do a lot of community work, so I'm over with the youth and things like that. And then I'm your friendly neighborhood guy. I keep it funky with you.
And you already know it's your boy, Big Lee, and I'm out here with my peoples, Ike and Vicky. You know, this is my background is I'm just here to help along, give the people the knowledge that they seek from that inner city community, not the suburbs of New York City. Or we from the hood out here, so I'm gonna give my perspective of where I grew up and stuff. So that's just it. Call your boy Big Lee. Don't get tricked podcast.
All
Uh,
right. So the aim of this
respect
podcast
the
is
Moonies. I
what?
apologize. Never.
All right. So the aim of this podcast is we want to present to you guys information that would help transform lives, help you guys to look at yourselves and other people with maybe more compassion, more perspective, but also to make it fun and interesting and give you guys laughs at the same time. Today we have a very special guest on that I'm super excited to be talking with. She's a friend that I made a few years ago when I first moved to Austin, and it was kind of like destiny or life just drew us together because we have so many things in common, and when we talk we can really connect with each other. We help each other through some issues that we work with. We help lean on each other, give each other a shoulder, give each other advice, and all sorts of wonderful things. So I would like to introduce to you guys Michelle.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, Michelle.
Hey, yeah, see, she
Hey.
came on.
Thank
Hey.
you so much. My name is Michelle Harvey, and I live here in Colorado, but I am from Austin, Texas for 17 years. That's where I met Vicky. And I am a certified life coach / wellness educator / stay-at-home mom / like part-time blogger, video maker, just any way I can stir up trouble on the internet, I'm all about it. Me in a nutshell.
But in a conscious way, which I love, because she works very hard to stay non-judgmental, and I think that that's so important in such a polarizing world that we live in.
100%.
So thank you for coming on, Michelle. Super excited to have you. So let's jump into this topic, right? So the five different ways that we're going to talk about ways that we can drive a wedge between us and our loved ones. We actually have 5 that we've come up with, and feel free, you guys, if you want to share what your thoughts are, what your experiences are with these. Would love to hear from you guys. So first thing that we're going to talk about, one way that we can accidentally drive a wedge between us and our loved ones. I'm actually going to put that in the comments so that everybody can see, but it is not supporting them. And so examples of that, one thing that I found an example of that is when we're silent or pessimistic, even though you're thinking you're being realistic, when someone is sharing their wins, but then when they're down, you share a lot of like thoughts and opinions, and and so you're really like easy to speak up when things are bad, but when things are good, where there's no cheering, there's no support, nothing going on in that sense. So for me, I found that when I experienced that, it doesn't make me want to share anything anymore, because when someone's like being always like a Debbie Downer, or like whenever I want to share something positive and they're always like, well, what about this, and what about this, and this could happen, this could happen, this could happen, like, okay, great, but like, why aren't we also sharing the wins of it? That's one thing that I've learned that has caused me to shut down. I don't know if you guys ever experienced anything around that. If anybody wants to share anything.
Yeah, I'll share. So I've can actually say I've been the perpetrator of that in the past. When I married my husband, he was 10 years old. He is 10 years older than me, and I inherited his daughter. So I had an instant stepdaughter, and she was awesome. We got along really well at first, and then she hit the preteen teenage years, and we still got along during that. And at the time, I had no really background in parenting, because I became what I call an insta mom. I didn't really have the whole like childbirth thing, so I was really trying hard to identify with her. But man, teenagers and preteens are weird, and they do some funky things. And I remember, like, we would always be added about like her friends, which I was insistent they were like not good for her, and that was the truth. But it seemed like she was constantly looking for validation from me, and I felt like I was giving it to her, but I was also giving her my honest opinion and what I felt like was the truth. And it literally was not what she wanted to hear. I don't think she wanted to hear that I thought her music sucked, and that like I wish she would put on some more clothes. Like it's like I could have been way more loving and supportive in those very, very critical years, so that we would have struggled less. I see that now as a conscious parent, being a late stage mother to Jackson. There are so many things I would have done differently as a parent in my 20s of a stepdaughter. But yeah, 100%. I can see now how she probably wouldn't want to reach out to me as much, because I would say things in what I thought was a loving way, but it was things she didn't really want to hear. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. I actually know the feeling from, the other perspective, right? Where it's like you silently are applauding them, but then outwardly you're saying these other things. And the thing is, we can't like read their minds. And so all we hear is the criticism, or well, you got to make sure you do this, you got to make sure you do that. Mm-hmm. And so it's very important to also share that part that we perhaps are holding inside of ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was going to say, the one thing that I've learned, especially working with like kids in the community, is like you have to let them live their life, right? So they have to make their own mistakes. They have to go through their own drama. So sometimes when they come to you, they're just seeking like your support in the sense of, hey, no, that's nice. So like I said, there's music they listen to that I care less about, but I listen to it. I try to find something that I like, and even if I don't like it, I'm just, oh, that's cool. Like, and a lot of them like to like rap and stuff, and I just do my best to support them in their own way, knowing that, hey, like, it's not for me to kind of give them a certain type of direction to fix any part of your life. It's just, hey, I'll give you direction to where you can make better decisions overall, but you're going to make some bad decisions, and those bad decisions hopefully will help you make better decisions as well.
Right.
I'm just there so they don't cross that bad line in a sense, So I get that for sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And you know what? That actually leads into
How old was the daughter when you came into her life?
She was 6 when I met her, 7 when we got married, and she's 22 now.
Oh, and so is the relationship better now than her
It
preteen,
was
the
actually
teen?
better back then. She's got a lot of things that she's working on in her adulthood.
Yeah,
And I'm giving her the space to do that. I mean, she's actually struggling with a lot of people in her life right now. She's kind of separating herself, and that's
yeah,
really, really painful for me. But I've evolved a lot more to kind of give her that space and understand that that's what she's looking for. She doesn't want my opinion. She doesn't want me breathing down her neck. And like I said, when I was parenting her in my 20s, I wish I knew those things now that I know now, and so I can give her that space in her 20s. I know she'll be back. Like I can feel it.
yeah. She'll be back, and I got 2 daughters from a previous relationship that I took over when they were 2 and 3. So I developed father-daughter relationship with them over the time, and they even when they hit the teens, even me and the mom split up, and I still continue to stay with their lives, and they haven't never been that distance from me. Just the typical teen, like, hey, how come you don't call me now and stuff? So, there go the time, and I'm calling them, and they're just not answering the phone or this and that, but it's definitely time they'll come back. But my big thing, like I said, you said, being an instant mom in your 20s, it could be difficult when it's not your kid and they older. So especially 6, they know who like their mom is and stuff.
Yeah.
So trying to enter that space is fragile.
Right.
So any which way it could go, left or right, and next thing you know, it's bound. Like I said, teenagers, they just got a mind of their own. So, but it definitely will work out. And just my thing is just as long as they know you reiterate that, hey, I'm here for you whenever you are ready. But I can't force myself to be ready for you. But I'm here whenever you are ready because I look at you as my daughter.
Right. Yep.
So.
Yeah, I think that was awesome what you just said, Lee. And I think that what you shared, Michelle, is something that's really important, right? When we're always rushing to give advice for everything, rather than just being there, it disempowers them, right? And it gives them the feeling like, oh, you think that I need to be fixed. You think that there's something wrong with me. And I've learned I used to be that person where every time someone came to me with something, I would always be like, okay, I got to make sure, like, did you account for this? Did you account for this? Did you account for this? Or like, I'd be like coming up with all sorts of advice to help them. But I realized, only recently, maybe a few years ago, that sometimes people don't want that. And sometimes if they do want it, like, you got to preface it with like okay, are you open for some advice? Or do you just want to like vent it out? Right. And that gives them the choice to make, and it further empowers them because now they're saying, oh, you know what? Yeah, I would like some advice. Or, no, I'm not in that space for me to receive it right now. So maybe later.
Right.
Yeah. So anything else that you guys want to share on this topic of not supporting your loved ones? Anything else that maybe you've experienced that you felt like your loved ones didn't support you, or you realized that you were doing the same thing?
Hop in. It's not that I have a specific example, but sometimes it can be unconscious. You can do it unconsciously, where you think like, oh, you got it, and I don't need to say nothing, and you're not getting that. You feel like, oh, I'm doing this, and I'm not getting no praise for it or something like that, and you could start to like not have no big resentment, but have a little resentment that might build up if you can continue to do something. As being a married man now, let's say, like I said, this is an example. If I'm cleaning up and it's just come home and my wife say, "Oh yeah, why ain't the trash out?" Well, I just cleaned the whole house.
Yeah.
That right there could could irritate you after a while if that always keeps happening. You know what I mean?
I feel like it's really important to be able to acknowledge and appreciate even the small things for the people in your life, and that's huge for me. Whenever I do anything little, I'm like, Chad, if you notice it, please just say something like, oh, thanks for doing this, you know, because it goes a long way.
Yeah, I see it on TikToks. They make a joke of it. Like a guy will be at home cleaned up, sitting there waiting for his wife to come home to get the praise, and then soon the wife walk in, why is the toilet seat up or something? Like, just something little or something. But it's like, bro, I just cleaned the entire house, put a whole new roof in, and then you talk about about this one little dustpan over here.
Yeah, it's kind of like that mentality, right? We always are thinking or noticing what we want and what we don't have, but we're not looking at what is in front of us and appreciating and being grateful for what has happened, what we do have. And I think that shift in mindset will be huge.
Right.
Absolutely. I agree.
Amber just laughed at what you just said, Lee.
Yeah, because I'm a funny guy. But Ike is you gotta raise your camera or something, bro. Your head is getting cut off. There we go.
I mean, we don't need to see his whole face anyways.
My head is a hair.
Listen, his head is already big enough, okay? So I don't think that we need to hold it.
I forgot. He was cutting off the great part of him.
So let's move on to this second way that we can accidentally drive a wedge between us and our loved ones. And this one is also something that I think is important, which is if we're not respecting other people's boundaries. And so boundaries can mean lots of things. I think that one thing that really ties in with what we just said is if we are constantly jumping in with an opinion or a judgment or advice without first asking if that's what they want, right? Because now they're just like, whoa, wait a second. Like I wasn't ready for this. I'm not ready to need fixing or anything. Okay. So, you know, it feels like it's pushing into their space. And so the another one with regard to not respecting boundaries I wanted to share is, you know, putting your own wants or needs ahead of theirs. Right? Like if they have a want or need and we are just basically just trampling all over them without even taking care of their wants or needs, that feels very intrusive. And it's really hard for us. Like, let's say like if somebody constantly shows up at your house uninvited, right? And you're just like, how do you even know whether or not I'm home or my home is ready or I'm even in a mental space to be able to like receive somebody? That's intrusion of boundaries. Do you guys have anything that you want to share around this?
Oh, I totally.
Yeah.
I totally got this one again. So this time I'm the perpetratee. So I'm very out there on social media, and I get it because I just love sharing my perspective with people in a non-judgmental way and trying to get other people's perspectives. I love putting out there our stories. So part of our story is that it took us 7 years to conceive our son. So we weren't planning on having Jackson after Alexis was out of the house. It just happened that way. It took us forever to have him. It's like all of a sudden you get pregnant and everybody's all up in your business trying to tell you how you have to raise that child. Now we're kind of like natural, like holistic, and we just got so much flack for so many different issues that we were posting on Facebook. And I was just putting out there like just some of the things, and people would say, well, you need to learn to keep your mouth shut. I'm like, why can't we have conversations about things without getting butthurt? Why can't people put stuff out there without people all of a sudden say, well, I didn't do it that way, or are you trying to judge me, or hey, you need to do it this way? I think for some reason we really feel like in society today that like when people, especially when there's children involved, we have a right to overstep our boundaries and tell these parents, well, this is how you need to handle this. Well, this is the right way to handle this. The way you're handling this is wrong. 100% overstepping your boundaries. I'm sorry, but you already raised your kids. A lot of these people were grandparents and stuff. I'm like, you already done raised your kids. You need to let me I'm working this stuff out and I'm putting it on the internet. That doesn't mean I want you to kind of come in and you know, tramp all over what I'm trying to say. And just because it's kind of more of a different approach to parenting or child raising. So that's something I wanted to put out there.
I saw that that's a big thing that a lot of parents have issues with, is other people telling parents how to raise their own children. I'm not sure why that happens. Do you have any thoughts on why people would do that?
It is such a primal thing to to have and raise children and put them out to the world. So what I found is the people who wanted to cause the most stink are the people who were more in our inner circle, you know, mothers, mother-in-laws, father-in-laws, aunts, uncles, people very close to that child. They have a vested interest biologically in seeing that child do well. And so socially and biologically, I think it's like hardwired into the brains of people to want to come in and say, oh, no, you're doing it wrong. Or, oh, no, you should do it this way. Because they really do care. And that's what I was trying to do, is I was trying to see the criticism from a place of, okay, these people really care about my son. These people really care about me. They're just trying to help. Their tone's all wrong. The way they're coming at me is all wrong. But they're coming at me from love on the inside. They just don't know how to portray it that way. That's kind of really how I try to look at it, but that doesn't mean I don't lose it behind the scenes. I don't lose it on the keyboard. I'll just lose it behind the scenes and then say some like expletives, and then I'll type on the keyboard, thank you for your perspective.
I know the feeling. Like, I know the feeling when people like insert themselves and they push or pressure you to do things, and you're like, oh gosh, I just worked so hard to be all zen, and now okay, all right, let me work through this. And then sometimes I'll come back with a response, and I'll be like, Chad, how is this response? And he goes, that's so lawyerly and politically correct. There's no emotion in it whatsoever. And I'm like, well, that's because I'm so triggered right now. Like, I'm trying to come up with a way to respond that's like not like, okay, I don't need you to get up in my business right now.
Yep.
Yeah.
I bet these guys have something to say about that.
I was actually going to ask, how do you guys feel about that whole? Because I know you kids. How do you guys feel about that whole celebrities not watching their kids? Y'all opinions on that one?
Oh, not washing their kids?
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. About 8 months ago, my husband, who was a frequent bather, like at least once a day, sometimes twice a day, he read an article in some health magazine about this guy that didn't bathe for a year. I don't recommend this, but he didn't bathe for a year because he was reading about the skin biome being like, we're like washing it all off, and that's like our protective layer. And we're actually using like harsh detergents and soaps, and we're like removing all that. So we actually don't bathe Jackson every day. Like if we do what those celebrities do, but obviously like if he's stinky or he's covered in dirt or he had an accident or whatever, for sure. But we actually try to just like take him in, like rinse him off. We don't use like harsh soaps and stuff on him. So like I was 100% on board with those people. But what I really didn't like was how people were like trashing them for it. I was like, this is me too. This is what we're kind of doing with Jackson too.
Well,
yeah, everyone's got an opinion.
And I give my opinion on that, because in the Black community, like this is another thing that I seen on TikTok, because it was like white people didn't use washcloths. They basically use their hand and soap. But we never seen that growing up. Like now we have a washcloth, or we got the loofah and we use it. And when you see not taking like showers, if it's not, you don't need it every day. Like if you like in the house, and I'm not going nowhere, but if I'm going out the house, like I just feel sticky sometimes living in Florida. It's the humidity. Like I can't just I've been sweating. I can't just go out like, yeah, I'm throwing some deodorant and feel like I'm throwing it on dirt. So like I said, when we hear that, it's like, hold up, y'all don't bathe? Like y'all don't wash your kids? Like the kids is outside playing in dirt and all this other stuff, and y'all not
That dirt is so good for them, though. It's full of like microorganisms that help to colonize their gut. Like we're in society. We are doing so many things. I would say wrong, but there's no right or wrong. So it's just recognizing that different people, different cultures, different, and even as we're evolving, things are changing.
Yeah.
And just looking at something and being like, you know what? That's not the way my family does things, but that's cool. That clearly they've done their research and they feel like that's what's best for them.
Yeah,
that's kind of where I'm trying to do it.
Yeah, which it comes down to when it comes, it's just having a conversation. Yeah. You got to choose how to you do yourself and your family. I'm not living your life.
Right.
You're not living my life.
Right.
I choose to go. I just play basketball. I'm gonna take a shower.
Oh, for sure. And in Florida.
Yeah. But like I said, it's about having a conversation.
Yeah.
And that's what people don't do a lot of nowadays. They quick to want to give their opinions and don't want to hear the other side of the story.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you guys. I mean, one of the things that I'm aware of, even what they say, even when having kids, is kind of like having a dog around, because that dog introduces so much like, which is going to be good for the child in the long run as far as building up its immune system and things like that. So there's like little tidbits when it comes to like exposing kids to bacteria and just how to like their well-being, and not only for kids but for us as well, you know. But now I know a lot of people just have that.
Ike, you breaking up.
Yeah. Yo, your internet is wacky.
You got me.
Yeah, you on pause now. Ike, let's get back to us, the more important people.
I'll be right back.
All right. So do you guys have anything else you want to share around not respecting one thing I wanted to say, though, with this not respecting boundaries thing, right? I think it's because we see everybody with our own perception, and something causes us to dehumanize the other person and not see them as a living, breathing person who is trying their best and doing their best. And instead we just see them through our own lens. And then because of that, we don't see their boundaries and we just push on. And that then causes this other human to not feel human anymore.
Yeah,
it's exactly like we like to, like I said, push our views and our opinions on others and think like we right. I like to argue a lot, especially when it comes to sports. So I know how to do. I'm like, yo, you need to listen. This is right. 99% of the time, I am right. So.
Look, me too.
That's why you don't argue with me. I'm that 0.1 that you always lose.
Oh, yeah.
You guys have argued over the dumbest things. I've seen this firsthand.
Hey, dumb to you, great to other people.
Yeah.
Gabrielle, hi. I just saw your comment. Let's get on to the third way that we can put a wedge between us and our loved ones. And I think that this one actually seems to be something that I've seen happen within my own life so many times, which is letting our pride or our ego dictate us. And so what does that look like, right? It can look like it's like so many different ways our pride and our ego can jump in, right? Blaming other people for things is a way that pride and ego can jump in. Also, like refusing to admit anything that we've done, refusing to take ownership for anything that we've done. I think that's probably like huge. For me, it's definitely caused me a lot of pain in my life when I am like, okay, I acknowledge this, but then the other person won't admit to anything because, of pride or ego. What are other instances that you guys have experienced pride or ego getting in the way of relationships?
I think really you want to be stubborn and not let the person know they're right. When you in an argument, you sometimes when you sit back and you're like, yeah, I probably shouldn't have went that far. There's probably right, but my ego's like, I'm gonna let this go over to the next day because, like I said, I can't be wrong most of the time. But that's like a big thing. Is when you sit back in an argument, like I said, whether it's a friend, whether it's a relationship with your partner, and you you get in disagreements, and some of them could get real heated. And if you don't go back, I could go months and not talk to him over it, and that's just all over my pride, not and my ego, not allowing me to like, yo, go be the bigger person and stop this. I had a friend, I gave the example. Now I'm in business with him that I ain't talked to for almost 2 years over something, and I felt like, I felt that I was right, and he felt he didn't really do nothing wrong, but my pride. Guess what? This was one of my childhood friends. I won't talk to you. 2 years.
Sometimes time is the only thing that really heals. And I know, people like to give. So my husband and I want to eventually do a podcast together. We make a really, really great couple. We're like opposites attract kind of people, but it took us a while to get there. And we got all of this advice, from other married couples. And one thing that people like to say is, don't ever go to bed angry. And I will tell you something. I've actually found the opposite to be true. I will go to bed angry all the damn time because you know what? A good sleep, because if I'm in my ego, if we're having an argument and I'm in my ego in that moment, nothing he says is going to make me feel any better, is going to make me change my damn mind. If I go to sleep and some time has elapsed and I have enough time to think about how stubborn, how wrong, how I'm not seeing things from his perspective, chances are the next day I wake up and by noon we're going to have this conversation wrapped up. Whereas if we stayed up because we didn't go to bed angry, we would be duking it out till 3 a.m. It doesn't make sense to me. And sometimes these things, these ego, whenever you get into an argument with someone, it can take 2 years for you to reconcile. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's honoring the fact that sometimes time needs to pass for us to realize, you know what, my ego has gotten in the way here. I need to just get over it. I miss this person. I'm going to reach out. I'm going to send him a text. I'm going to write him a letter. So that's my thought.
This is why I love having different perspectives, because we can share different things. Because I'm the extreme opposite of you with the arguments, and I think that it's because of our dynamic and how we operate. So for me, if anybody follows astrology, I'm a Libra rising, and Libra is all about balance and harmony. Mm-hmm. So in my identity, I'm all about resolving conflict, which is funny because I'm a lawyer and whatever. But anyways, I'm all about resolving conflict in social relationships, and I need that balance. So on the one hand, it's really annoying to talk to me because I'll always be like, well, devil's advocate, blah, 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 because I always see the other side. When it comes to my relationship, Chad actually used to be that person where he just wanted to go to bed and just sleep it off, right? But I think something in me intuitively just hated that, because I knew that there would be a part of him that would just sweep it under the rug, possibly because that's how previous interactions have been for him. And I didn't want us to have anything swept under the rug, because I didn't want any subconscious bitterness, resentment, anything to kind of just add up over time. I'm the type of person where I need it talked out. And so for me, I can't go to bed mad. I can't even sleep, right? We have to talk it out, but only to a place where we both feel like, okay, we've come to some sort of understanding about each other, and let's go to sleep and finish this talk tomorrow. So for me, at the very least, we have to get to that point.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's kind of how I operate. So it doesn't mean that we both have an understanding that night, but the understanding that we'll have that night is, I do care about you. And as much as all this is going on, it's just like a problem right now, but we'll definitely resolve it. Mm-hmm. We'll go to bed with a peaceful mind. And then the next day, like you stated, I'm processing a lot better. I've probably thought of 100 different scenarios. And then even in the last argument, all the things I was doing wrong where I wasn't really listening, I was just kind of talking to make my point heard. And then I could kind of articulate myself better the next day as well. So I do a combination.
Yeah.
Yeah. And look, when I do go to sleep upset, I pout like a little kid. You do that whole roll over. Don't put your foot on me. No nothing. Yeah. I'm pulling that blanket and all that. She gonna know that I'm still upset over here. And
Don't y'all feel like this number 3 is literally the problem with the world right now, especially on the internet?
Yeah.
Ego and pride, and like just the inability to have a conversation and communicate with each other.
Oh, absolutely.
100%. Yeah.
yeah,
I think
like I
a lot
said,
of people. Oh, sorry.
no, you good. Like even like growing up, ego is always a big thing. Like the where I grew up in Newburgh, because even let's take an example, people be in a crowd and somebody step on their shoe and they feel like oh you just disrespected me or something, and now they ready to fight, all because of somebody stepping on their shoe. Now they feel like they messed them up, or they showing them up like oh they're like their ego took a hit or something, even though it's an accident. Like I said, you in the crowd, it's not stepping on somebody's shoe on purpose. So it was a lot of that caused a lot of fighting growing up between people, and I'm pretty sure it's even still like that. I know in college they were still doing that. So
I think that actually perfectly leads into number 4, which is bad othering, which is a term that Chad had shared with me from his studies, which is we look at the person as the other and that they're bad. And so we blame them for how we feel. And so what you guys have said is that, right, we dehumanize the other person. And so we have these arguments. One, there's our pride or ego, which is like, I got to be right. So I'm not even hearing what you're saying. I just want to be able to continue making my points so that I'm right. And you can finally admit that I'm right. And so there's no listening involved. And for what the second thing, right, what you said, Lee, is that we look at this other person as our perpetrator. And so we blame them for how we feel, right? Even though we're the ones who are feeling it, right? So really, it's us who's feeling it, and they can do whatever, right? But it's up to us to manage how we feel. But we blame them, right? And so we look at this person as like the enemy, you. And that seems to be what's going on with society. It's like you. So if you don't get yourself vaccinated, then you are endangering everybody else, and you're selfish. And if you get yourself vaccinated, then you are a sheep, or whatever other bad words that we think about other people, without recognizing that we are all humans who have very own distinct lives, and whatever happened in our life has led us to come to this conclusion that we've developed, that we think is best, right? Because we're all trying to do the best that we can, but we forget that the other person is trying to do the best that they can.
Yeah, I think like one of the key things you said is like the dehumanization part. Especially when it comes to like social media and people are engaged with other people. I tell people like on social media, people say things that they'll never say in real life. Because in real life, you get to see the emotional response of somebody else. And if you're actually somewhat of a decent human being, you're going to feel bad. But on social media, you can say whatever you want. You never have to see the person wince. You never have to see how they react, respond to it on an emotional level. So people tend to be cavalier on social media. And like, when it comes to like blaming them on how you feel, that's something where I try to tell people like, for the most part, you're responsible for your own feelings, right? So even like in a relationship where people are like, I guess, giving their hearts to other people, that's how I describe it. I tell people like, sometimes I look at it like you're giving the Ferrari to a 14-year-old, and then when they crash the Ferrari, you're blaming them for crashing the Ferrari. You have to be able to gauge the people you're engaging with to know what you can give them. I think sometimes someone will perceive somebody as an adult and just give them adult responsibilities. And the thing is, you could be 50 years old and still have certain inabilities on an emotional level to deal with certain things. So to me, you have a responsibility to yourself when it comes to your emotions and your needs to perceive who can actually handle them. So when you give it out, those people can meet those needs instead of consistently blaming other people for them not being able to handle you, for you being too much. Yeah, you can find somebody who's enough for you, but you actually have to actively do so.
When you say that, something that I came across that I think was really powerful was when I saw something on Instagram that someone posted, and they said that they have a friend who, whenever that friend needs advice or is down or something, they go to that person to say, hey, I need help. Are you in a mental space to hear, my problems right now? And I think that is what you're saying, Ike, right? Like, we are now allowing ourselves to go to that other person and recognize, hey, you've got your own life, you got your own issues, you got your own stuff, right? Let me preface this and, like, you know, before I jump in and dump my problems on you, ask you if you're in a space to be able to help me out right now. And if you're not, I'm good with that.
Oh, I was going to say, no, that's absolutely right. And I have friends that are like that, right? So I have friends like Lee. I could call Lee whatever, regardless of whatever is going on with them. I could dump a whole lot of stuff on Lee, and he'll probably handle it, right? But then I have friends that are very sensitive, and I know due to their sensitivity, I have to prefix it because based on where they are, they're not going to be able to handle like anything kind of extracurricular. You know what I mean? So that's what I mean by you have to gauge the people you engage with to know who can really handle something and who you kind of have to give that awareness. Like, hey, especially when it's me trying to have a conversation with them about something to do with them and our relationship dynamic. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you know what I will say though is that the people who are the toughest sometimes do need extra attention sometimes because they're holding the weight of so many people around them. And somebody actually said that to me when I was during the February winter storm fiasco, and I was like running around like crazy trying to put things together, resources for people, and also support them and check in on them, make sure that everything was going well. And I felt like nobody was checking in on me. I was like texting like over a dozen people every day. I was updating my Facebook multiple times a day to give resources to people. But I didn't feel like the people closest to me were supporting me in the same way. And I needed some sort of like outlet to help kind of support me as I was supporting other people. And so when I broke down on Facebook and I was like, you guys need to check in on your friends in Texas. And one of my friends texted me. She goes, you know what? I appreciate you texting me so much. And it's easy for us to forget that the strong ones also need assistance as well. So I think that it is important for us to be able to check in on all of our people, even the ones who seem strong, you know?
Oh, no, absolutely right.
With that, does it make you feel a certain way towards them when they aren't checking on you and you're doing all this hustling and busting and checking on everybody, and then so you feel like a certain way to the people that's not checking in on you, and do you let them know that?
I will admit, like, it hurt me a lot, and I was very, very sad. And so because I do all of this inner work, I'm trying not to blame others and trying not to judge other people, right? And so I really had to sit with my feelings first and explore, okay, where am I judging and where am I blaming, and let go of that. And then when I finally spoke to them, I said, you know, this is why I feel hurt, and this is what I feel like I need in a relationship. So if I'm sharing something with you about something going wrong, even if I'm joking about it, just something simple like, you are you good? Like, you know, just want to make sure, you know, everything's okay, you know, or something, because it was all over the news and everything. And I was sending them memes to show them how bad it was. And all they did was just laugh it off. And to me, it was just like, okay, like, you know, on the one hand, it's funny, but on the other hand, like, at least just say something.
Yeah,
So
say something
I
like you was out there drinking yellow snow.
No, that snow was for the toilets.
No, I was gonna say to credit to what you're saying, Vicki. No, you're definitely right. But even what I would tell the stronger friends as well is you have to be able to kind of process things, like be able to kind of communicate when you do need help. Because a lot of times, you know, people are trying to do so much, and you know they could be used to just being the stronger person. But one of my things is to be the stronger person. One of the things you have to be able to do is ask for help and be able to communicate with the people that you know they care about you appropriately for you to perceive the help. Because in that way, you could be as strong as you need to be to help others. It's like a whole circle of life thing. So
yeah,
so
we do need to. I think overall, we do need to work on our communication.
Yeah, I agree.
So, hi Paris.
Paris, what up?
Hi Karen. All right, so let's jump into the last one that about the 5 ways that we can put a wedge between us and our loved ones. And the fifth one would be judging or trying to fix them when they're sharing a vulnerable or emotional part of themselves. And so I actually find this one to be like really a big one, because when we open ourselves up, we're being very vulnerable, and then the other person has a lot of power, right? And it can potentially give a lot of damage. It can potentially put a big wedge between us. So ways that they can do that would be telling the other person, oh, you're being too sensitive. Oh, you shouldn't feel that way. Oh, you're giving up too easily. Oh, you need to toughen up, right? It's like, you have now just invalidated my feelings, and now I just feel like crappier than the crap that I already am feeling.
I was gonna say this one is tough for me. In this aspect, right? I'm one of those guys where just maybe typical guy thing, right? A girl is talking to you, she's being vulnerable, telling you certain things, and then you want to fix it, or like in a way, like do what you can to help. So it's funny because throughout social media, I've always seen the comments of, guys just need to listen, blah 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 blah. And a part of me is like, look, if you just want somebody to listen, go to therapy, pay a therapist. They'll just listen if that's what you want. But if I'm somebody in your life and I care about you and you talk to me about what your problems are, and I feel like, hey, I can offer you something that's going to help you move forward so that problem is no longer a problem to you, I'm going to offer it, because even as bad as that might come across, I'd rather offer it and like hope that the best happens to you than not offer it, and then your life is just as miserable next week. So I don't know how to sit on that. So that's been my stance. I know it sounds bad, but I accept.
Thank you for being honest.
Yeah, hey, I'm not perfect, and I'm okay with it.
Michelle, do you want to share any thoughts on that?
So I like what Vicki said earlier about, asking, like prefacing, especially as the dude, saying, look, I'm hearing you right now. Do you want me to help you work on a solution, or are you just wanting me to listen and hold you? And then boom, if they say that second one, as hard as it is, just honor that. But also, because, yeah, you can go to a therapist, but sometimes you just want to go to your loved one and say, man, I'm fucking pissed at this. Yeah. No, I don't want a solution. I just want someone who I love, who gets me, and I just want to get it out. And sometimes I go to my girlfriends, and sometimes I go to my husband. And so it is hard, because I'm more of a guy in that way. I too, and I think Vicki, with the lawyerly thing, we have solutions. We have things in our brain that we just want to help. And sometimes it just depends on whether or not they want that.
So I'll give you a perspective, Ike, and I think that's wonderful, Michelle. So I'm going to jump on that, right? And I'll give you a perspective from me, I don't know, an alpha female type of personality, right? So I get it, right? But at the same time, when I'm sharing something, sometimes it's like, I know what I need to do, but right now I'm just in that low state, and I just got to get it out, right? I just got to get out what I'm feeling, get out what's going on, and then I'll figure it out, right? And I know that I can. I know I can. I just got to get past this part right now. And so sometimes I'm just coming to chat or coming to somebody with what I'm feeling, not because I need them to try to fix it, but just because I need to just go through this. This is my process, right? And I just need to get it out. And then I just need you to be like, gosh, like that sucks. Like anything that you need from me. And I might even in that moment, I'll be like, you know what? I figured out what I need to do. I just needed you to just somebody to hear me. And, it gives us the power. It gives us our power to do what we inherently know that we can do.
I was going to say, part of me, I hear what you guys are saying, and I think it's actually great. But of course, there's but involved. A part of me feels so corny, like just saying, oh, well, do you really want me to say something like I'm laughing? And they get upset, like.
Well, how about this? How about this? Like, how about this, right? So I get it, right? It is awkward. You gotta find your own language, right? You could do something like, you could just say something like, "Wow, that sucks," and then they're like, "Yeah," and then you're like,
But
I have
he'll
some
still
ideas.
say It still feels sarcastic from him.
Yeah.
Like, wow,
Like,
that
this
sucks.
I don't know.
Hey.
I'm sure you can find a way, but we need empathy first.
Yes.
Then you can offer,
Oh yeah.
do you want advice?
Yeah, no, empathy is always there. I'm a loving individual, so I always offer empathy. But that's why I say where like a part of me like is always trying to find a solution, even for my personal life. So whenever I offer empathy, part of my empathy is, hey, why don't you maybe look at it like this? Or, just it's always like a different perspective just to kind of say, hey, I want to help, or maybe I just share a story about how I've gone through something similar. This how I responded to it. And but again, on social media, they'll say, "Oh, you're just supposed to listen." And I'm just like,
yeah, I think naturally we all want to give some type of advice to the person, especially if they're going through something big. I know, like sometimes I talk to my friends, guys or females, and they're going through this, and I won't say like, "Hey, stop being sensitive," but I'm like, "Why don't you just leave?" And why deal with it? I know females want to deal with, "Oh, I need closure. I got to go talk to this person." Why? Just leave. It's done. Once that door shut, guess what? It's closed. That's how I look at it. So I try to be straightforward on sometimes, like, but when I also see this, because at first I'm thinking like, okay, when you say, "Oh, they're trying to be sharing something," and you like, "I'm trying to fix it." You got some people like, "Yo, stop being weak. Like, just man up." Or but I was thinking like, a woman would tell a man that when they're trying to share something vulnerable, but then I could also see a man expressing that feeling too. So my like I said, me, I'm more of the like man up and just look. If person ain't gonna be there, if you try to work something out continuously, why keep putting your hand on the hot stove? You getting burnt. So that's just my look on it.
I'm more sensitive than that, but
my husband too. He's not a man up kind of person. In fact, he feels like the way that we are raising our boys or have in the past is getting them to where they because that's the culture is to man up, don't show emotions, and women do. Just to see on what Ike was saying, like women they contribute to that by saying, "Oh, you're being sensitive. Oh, like you're supposed to take like." Women like get upset about it, and it's like, I thought you said you wanted a more sensitive man. You want a more sensitive man, but then when he starts being sensitive, all of a sudden you feel like it's weird. No, we got to raise our boys to be able to voice these things and talk about these things, because then that way they don't necessarily have to have that. And I love that you have that black and white way of viewing things, but it makes it really hard for sometimes to connect with people who are seeing things in more shades of gray.
But I think it comes down to, like Ike was saying, is knowing who I can share that with.
Yes.
I could come to Ike and I don't express things to him.
Yeah.
That's just, I think I feel more comfortable doing it with.
Yeah.
So I know who I can do it with and who I can't do it with. And when I tell him certain things in my life that I'm going through, I don't feel soft. I don't feel like I'm being sensitive. And then he'll give me the advice. And I got other friends that's in my circle that I can express these things to. And that's why I think I have a good circle of friends that allows me to be vulnerable and open up. And if I'm going through a certain thing, they won't judge me for coming to them with it.
Let me add this one thing, just about like something that you said. Where it comes to like a lot of guys, when they're being sensitive and women are coming at them like that. One of my things is you always have to stand on who you are. If you're sensitive and you're being sensitive and the people around you aren't receptive to that sensitivity, that's when you have to start looking at, hey, I need to engage with other people that are able to receive me better. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times what people do is, of course, due to their ego and other things or insecurities, they kind of like go back into their shell and they start emitting a certain behavior. But one of my overall things is I tell people, what is the type of, I guess, future you want for yourself? I tell people, hey, I'm a family man kind of guy, right? I want a wife, kids. I want to be able to love my kids, love my wife, and I also want to be able to receive their love as well. So me being sensitive is a good thing for me. So if somebody is not receptive to my sensitivity, I'm just like, oh, well, you're probably not somebody that needs to be in my life. You know, like that's just how I look at it. And that's my black and white, you know. And then when some people kind of come to that realization, they're like, oh, they don't understand, oh, this is why Ike is the way he is. You know, so you have to be okay to be sensitive. And or whoever you are, like if you're not sensitive and that's who you are, there's a lane for you too, you know, but sensitive is the way to go.
Yeah, no, I can respect that 100% because as somebody who's more on the sensitive side of things, I don't take kindly to people who, and people don't say that to me very often because they know that I'm a sensitive person. I put it all out there. They don't resonate with me. They tend to just kind of back off because they know that's who I am and I don't make any apologies for it. But I also understand people who aren't that way. I've grown up with a lot of people that way. I love them. My family is huge. I'm half Mexican. And let me tell you, in the Mexican side of things, it's more like, duke it out kind of thing. Like, you can show anger and you can show like happiness, but like getting all sensitive and stuff, it's like, why are you crying? Why are you crying? So like, I get that. That's how I was raised too. But like over time, I've I have a respect and love for all kinds of people, but you have to find who resonates with you and kind of stick around that. So.
Well, absolutely. That helps. To me, that helps nurture the better parts of you, or at least the parts of you that you want to have for your future. However, let's say your sensitivity level is a 6 right now. The more people that you get around that you could be sensitive with, you could raise it up to an 8. Mm-hmm. And it just becomes more dynamic. You're able to express yourself. You're able to learn things from other people that are able to handle certain situations better than you. Like the one thing I tell Lee, not on the sensitivity part, but he's a great communicator with his friends. How he stays in touch with us, stuff like that. Like he's exceptional at that. I'm terrible. Being around Lee has made me better, and I'm still terrible, but I'm better than I used to be. So you just want to be around people that make you a better individual, and that also nurtures your relationship with them.
Did you see what Black said? He said, "Come to Captain Black with your feelings, Ike Lee. No judging over here."
Look, when I get off this phone, we got a hour convo coming in.
Hey, I'm judging him. Look, this guy is like Batman when he was training. That's who this guy is. So I judge him about his workouts all the time.
Yep. So.
Sorry that I skipped out a little bit. I saw a mosquito float by and I tried to kill it. So in my efforts to kill it, I accidentally hit the power button on my computer. So. I failed in 2 ways because I failed to kill the mosquito and I failed to keep my computer on. So that was what happened.
Yeah,
well,
thought you had Ike service over there.
No, I'm not at his level. But great talk, guys. I really enjoyed this. You guys all brought such great perspective. Special extra thank you to Michelle for showing up and sharing your perspective.
Thank you.
Yeah,
awesome.
hope everyone has enjoyed this. In the comments, we actually wrote down some of the topics that we discussed. So you can feel free to take that, sit with it. See how that shows up for your life, and hopefully you guys can have some takeaways from this channel. Stay tuned for more Rush Hour episodes where we will also be talking about other philosophical things, but in a more entertaining context and with laughs, and hopefully Michelle can come back for other topics that we'll be doing. Yes,
you're welcome anytime.
Thank you. It's been fun. I love it.
Awesome. Michelle, you have any final thoughts you want to share?
No, I just think this is what we need to be doing more of. Real humans, different backgrounds, different areas, different ages, different family dynamics, coming together and discussing things, having differences in opinion, agreeing with certain things. I feel like what the world needs now is more of this. And so I really appreciate that y'all are offering this to people, and I hope that I can be a part of it more. So thank y'all so much for having me.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Mike, do you have any final words you want to say?
Absolutely. Actually, you sent me a meme quote thing earlier today, and it was about a gentleman, and he was just talking about how he makes his own headlines. A lot of times I think people get caught up with what's going on in the news, or even to a degree what's going on in social media. But sometimes just look at what's going on around you. As crazy as it might seem out there, use what's going on around you to kind of gauge what's actually happening in your life. And I think it gives you just a better peace of mind and better perspective. So always engage with real human beings.
So I'm going to share what I shared with Ike. It was a meme that says, sometimes I just wanted to stop. Talk of COVID, looting, brutality. I lose my way. I become convinced that this new normal is real life. Then I meet an 87-year-old who talks of living through polio, diphtheria, Vietnam protests, and yet is still enchanted with life. He seemed surprised when I said that 2020 must be especially challenging for him. No, he said slowly, looking me straight in the eyes. I learned a long time ago to not see the world through printed headlines. I see the world through the people that surround me. I see the world with the realization that we love big. Therefore, I just choose to write my own headlines. Husband loves wife today. Family drops everything to come to grandma's bedside. He patted my hand. Old man makes new friend. His words collide with my worries, freeing them from the tether I had been holding tight. They float away. I am left with a renewed spirit and a new way to write my own headlines.
It's good.
Yes,
Yeah.
indeed. Love it.
Yeah, it was real good. It was just a long meme, though. It was a meme or a novel. Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd have probably skipped past that one.
Just give it a heart and keep going. Like,
Yeah, like, oh, this is the one that look deep and thoughtful. Double tapping, keep it moving, scrolling.
I kid you not. On the real, when I would send Lee like all these messages of what's going on in my life and that I'm working through, sometimes he'll be like, I got to be honest with you. I only read like some of those, and I had to skip over the rest.
You gotta skim through. Like what she used to send, I was like, man, yeah, I'm like, I don't know if I'm reading a text or is this a Harry Potter book. So
Send them
But
to
then-
me. Vicki. I'll read them.
hey, I eventually went back though. It just took me some time.
Yeah.
And like,
Yeah.
oh, I missed this. This paragraph was important.
yeah, like I said, when I get stuff
Yeah.
like that, I just act like I didn't read it. And when I have time, I read it. And I reconvene like, oh look, because I'm like, sometimes some of those stuff is just better phone calls, man. I'm like,
Well,
what you told me.
It would have been a lot easier than phone calls. Like I said, that's why I like watching the movies instead of reading the books.
I was in class. I was in law school, so it would be all typing. You can't
So-
really call someone while you're in class.
So I helped you get through law school is what I just heard.
You did. All right, Lee. So you got any final words for everyone?
Final words. I'm just gonna piggyback off of Michelle when we talk about getting a group of people together that have difference of opinions and not judging them for having a different view of you is big. Something I later in life have come to basically accept that and try to be more conscious of when I am talking to somebody and trying to see it from their point of view instead of, hey, I'm right all the time. So that's the big thing for me is, like I said, just trying to not judge a person for always being wrong when they argue with me.
Nice.
Like you keep taking shots.
So, I think that my final words are: we all want to be happy. That's really what we all want, right? And so, things like judging other people, making assumptions, trying to intrude in other people, jumping in when we're not invited, and like just letting our own stuff dictate, or even like when we're in pain and we're constantly just blaming other people, which is just going to continue that cycle. Like that takes us away from our happiness. So what can you do to just be happy, right? And, happy people lead to more happy people because happy people just spread that energy. And so I think that if we can just kind of put on our focus, like how can I just be the happiest that I can be in every single part of my life, it's probably going to be huge for us, and it's probably going to allow us to one day die with a smile on our face, and instead of, well, I could have done this and I could have done that. So like you said, happiness is the key. What is that show?
That is show.
Yeah.
When
Thanks, Joe.
when you're happy with yourself, you find yourself being good to others.
So true.
Yeah.
Hey,
All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Hope you tune in for our next showing. Please feel free to also reach out to any of us to give us feedback, because this is only our second episode. So we are open to feedback to see how we can improve what we do. If you guys have any other ideas of what topics you want us to talk about, what kinds of people you want us to bring to the show, anything, feel free to share that as well, because we are happy to share these discussions with people, to have this open communication with people, and to bring people together.
facts.
All right, guys. Have a
Yep.
good night, everyone.
Bye.
Goodbye.